Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Wildgame Anglers podcast. I'm Henry Vine, your host, and today I'm excited to welcome Doug to the show. Doug is the creative force behind the popular YouTube channel Dpuck Fishing and Outdoors, where he takes us along on his thrilling adventures in nature. As a proud Eagle Scout and bass fishing aficionado hailing from northern New Jersey, Doug brings a unique mix of expertise, humor, and raw authenticity to everything he does. From catching bass and breaking rods to hiking through forests, playing with fire and knives, and reliving the wild freedom of childhood days, Doug's videos remind us of all the joy and frustration of being out in nature when the world was ours to explore. So grab your gear and get ready to dive into Doug's world of outdoor adventure. Doug, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Henry. I'm really honored to be able to be part of your new adventure. I've been watching the other podcasts. It's really cool to be part of that community because a lot of the guys you've already had on your show are guys that are kind of involved in my community too, that we all, talk to each other and comment on the videos. So it's really cool to be part of this. So
Well,
thanks for inviting me.
I really, really appreciate that you're taking the time to be part of it. And you're right, we're all like a group of guys that already know each other, but at the same time, we only know each other through videos, so I find it's a cool new way to get to know each other.
Yeah, I hope I can, there's a lot of pressure on me because you had some great guests. I mean, Dan and Chris Bogley and Jumbotron, they had some great stories. So I got some big shoes to fill.
Well, I'm looking forward. I'm pretty sure you're going to have some good stories too.
Hope so.
So let's start at the beginning. What sparked your love for the outdoors and bass fishing?
Well, it's weird because I'm from New Jersey, and New Jersey is not really known for either bass fishing or the outdoors. Everyone thinks of New Jersey, and they think of like either The Sopranos or the Jersey Shore show. And that's true. That is what New Jersey's like. I mean, if I look out the window on my balcony at night, I can see the New York skyline. So I can see what color the Empire State Building is that day. And I have a lot of people in my life that, like, if they're not within arm's length of like an outlet, they would have anxiety attacks. So it's kind of weird for someone like me in northern New Jersey to be like all into like the outdoors, into fishing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the similarity that I have with a lot of the other podcast guys that you've had, is that the most influential person in our lives is our fathers. Yeah. So I was lucky in that my father kind of got me started as a young kid. My father, he was the only son of a single mother, and he had three sisters. So he had to grow up really quickly, and he was living here in northern New Jersey back in the 50s and 60s. So he had to find inexpensive ways to entertain himself because the money was tight. So he started teaching himself how to fish, just buying some gear at a hardware store and going to a local pond. And then he would just, as a kid, here's a young boy, he would kind of start taking me out and stuff to go and fishing and going camping. And I have some early memories of fishing in the Adirondacks with him as a little boy in a boat, not fishing, but just being in the boat with him.
Yeah.
And then my mother had a family that had a property very similar to yours, kind of in the Catskill areas of New York, where it's just a lot of trees that they built a fire ring, and they dropped an old dusty Airstream trailer in there, and there's an outhouse. Okay. And then whenever they had time on long weekends, they would all go there and bring me along as a kid. So I remember being a little 7, 8-year-old wandering around the woods after the rain and picking up the little orange salamanders that would come out and flipping them buckets. Oh, yeah. I want to take home the salamanders to my house. The little lizards as a kid, the little chameleons.
Yep.
But it was a place that we couldn't get to that often. My father, at that time, he was working in New York City at the Fed Bank. So he's working 50, 60 hours a week. So we only got to go there that much. And my mother really wasn't much of an outdoors person. She's from northern New Jersey. So I had a little bit of influence in the outdoors of going camping and going fishing. But really, it was at the age of 10 that I think that 10 as a young boy and a young girl, maybe too, is really where kids change. Because a 10-year-old kid, everyone that's younger than 10, they're kind of the same. They play the toys and they watch the TV shows. Yeah. When you're 10 years old, that's where you start to drift apart and find your little niches. And you have these different things that will influence you and shift you to what you're going to be. So when I'm 10 years old, my parents, first they enrolled me in Boy Scouts. That's
Okay.
about what time you start in the Boy Scouts, and we could talk about Boy Scouts a lot later. But I joined the Boy Scouts, and it was a Boy Scout camp or a Boy Scout troop that was very outdoorsy, and they started doing a lot of outdoor stuff. And then in the summer of I was 10 years old. My parents put me in a car as soon as school was over, and they drove me up to Maine. Now, Maine, I think, is as close to Canada as American can get
Yeah.
beside Alaska. I mean, it's a totally different country. As soon as you cross the border into Maine, the air is a little bit colder and crisper. There's that hint of menace in the air, and it's just a weird culture where like you have a mix of like the hippie culture plus like every Stephen King book that ever
Yeah.
written all mixed together, and that's where we are. And they put me in a camp called Chewunky. I
Okay.
don't know if anyone's familiar with Chewunky. It's a year-round facility that I think Justin Trudeau was a member of at some point in his life. I wasn't
Okay.
there when I was there, but it's this summer camp, and then in the winter and fall they have what they call a Maine Coast semester, where kids internationally will go there for a semester and learn as if they were in high school, but they're living in the woods of Maine. So the summer, as soon as school's up, they drop me off, say, "Here's a duffel bag. See you later. Pick you up in August."
Oh yeah.
So that's it. Like, and this is a camp where it's very rustic. It's all about the wilderness. It's all about the outdoors. There's no electricity. You're in these cabins. You have flashlights. 10 kids to a cabin, and they're all about the nature. They have a working farm that you can work out and process food. And they do a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of camping. So like these cabins would go on these trips and have great memories of being a little kid, like 11, 12-year-old kid, like canoeing up Damariscotta Lake, camping overnight in there. I remember being in a canoe and watching some moose, like doggy
Oh
paddle
yeah.
past us, just the humps in the head as they're swimming by, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, there's a moose in the canoe." And they had programs where for like 3 weeks you could like build a kayak out of wood, and then you build your kayak, you design it however you want, you paint it, and then you're going to kayak for a week in the ocean, stopping at island to island, in the kayak that you built. And then when you're done, you take the kayak. And I didn't do that
Wow.
program, but what I did do was the sailing. I became obsessed with sailing. My
Okay.
father, as a young kid, would tell me a story about how one day he decided he was going to build a sailboat out of plywood and PVC, and he did. And it's like stored under his childhood home, and it's still there. 60 years later, I've gone back and peeked under the porch, and
Oh
you see
yeah.
the rotting carcass of this old sailboat. So he was telling me, "Oh, you got to try sailing. You got to give sailing a try." So a 10-year-old kid, I get on a sailboat, and these are like, no power sailboats. Like a lot of them are like all wooden boats. And then, learn how to sail. And then they again would have these trips where you can go for like either a week or 3.5 weeks, and you'd be on the sailboat and you're sailing down the coast of Maine and you're sleeping on these islands and then sailing the next day all the way down. We started at Rockport, Maine, and then we make our way all the way down to where the camp is in Wiscasset, Maine.
Oh yeah.
You're in these giant 21-foot wooden old fashioned fishing sailboats. So if there's no wind, you break out the oars like the Roman slaves, and
Yeah.
you're rowing.
That's
And
that's a crazy way to grow up.
yeah, it was amazing. I loved
Oh
it.
yeah.
So many things. I mean, I could tell you stories about like being in the boat and seeing a giant fin cruising along the top of the water.
A
So
shark?
we get in the dinghy, we roll over it, and it's like a 20-foot basking shark
Oh
with
wow.
with a big mouth open. It
Yeah.
just cruised along the top, and you're 5 feet away in a rowboat.
Yeah.
And then finally it went down in the water. So we got to see amazing, cool things like that, or like having a big gray whale like go underneath the sailboat, and it's like the size of the sailboat, and it's going right underneath it, and just being out there in the wilderness, it was life changing. And
Oh, for sure. That's a wonderful way to grow up. A way to toughen up young men like yourself. That's
yeah, you
a
just like no parents, and yeah, I was homesick maybe the first couple of weeks, but then you
yeah.
start involved,
You
and
got
then
no choice.
there. Yep. And now, and the first year came by, I got to go back, and then went
Oh
back the
yeah.
next year. I went back the next year. So from
Yeah.
10 until 16, I was going there and doing these. As I got older, doing the trips, and then I got older, I started working as a camp counselor and teaching sailing on these boats
Okay.
and taking them on these trips and being the leader. Um, and it was again like awe-inspiring.
Okay.
And I remember like this is my one catch and cook story that I'll tell you because
Yeah.
I don't do catch and cook. So we're sleeping on this island, and there's a cove here, and we get there, and we get on the dinghy, we get on the beach, and on the beach there's like a dozen dead dogfish, like the sharks. They're all just
Okay.
wild, and we don't really understand why they're there. So we're eating dinner, we're cooking, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and we realize in the cove there is a fisherman's net. So the fisherman comes
Okay.
in, and he's got a net there, and for some reason he decides it's full of porgies. He doesn't want the porgies. I don't know what he was fishing for. I don't know why he doesn't want the porgies. So he opens the net, releases hundreds of porgies.
Okay.
The current's brushing them against the rock. It's like low tide. So we're standing on these rocks, and the porgies are against the rocks, and you could reach in and start scooping them out with your hand. So we
Oh
start
yeah.
grabbing porgies, and we have like a burlap potato sack, and we're throwing the porgies in. We're throwing the porgies in. I don't know how many get, a dozen, 2 dozen. And then as we're doing this, we start seeing shapes come through the water.
Okay.
So, and then the water starts turning red. And then you
Oh.
start seeing like porgies that are like still alive, but like their mouth's moving, but they got no tail left. They got bites out of them. And
Okay.
you realize bluefish have come in and they're just picking these porgies apart. So we're like, oh,
Oh
get your
yeah.
hand. So and that's why I realized that the sharks were there because of the net. The sharks had been in the net and I guess they died and then
Yeah.
they got washed up. So now we have a sack of dozens of porgies and we sail to the next island, which I believe is called Dammers Cove Island. And again, we come into the cove there. It's a long peninsula-shaped island, like a cigar shape, and there's a cove in the middle of it. So we park our boats and we moor up on the moorings there. We're sitting there, and there's a lobsterman who's there doing something. I don't know what he's doing. He's just hanging out. So one of the other leaders approaches the lobsterman, and he says, "Hey, look, we have about 3 dozen porgies. Can we trade you 2 dozen porgies for 11 lobsters?" And he's like, "Absolutely." Trade them the porgies. We get the lobsters, and then as tide goes down on the rocks, you have all the mussels, the wild mussels, and
Yeah.
we're sitting there picking the mussels off the rocks. So now we got lobster, fresh porgies, fresh mussels,
Oh, that's
sitting
good.
there on the coast of the island, making a fire. We got other ingredients, cook them some corn, some potatoes, mussels and porgy and lobster. And it was one of the best meals I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
So like, I mean, like eating outdoors is always the best food.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So having that experience of being in Chewonki in Maine, just that I became obsessed with being, out in the wild. And then the third thing that happened when I was 10 is my father, who we had been going down to the Jersey Shore, Long Beach Island, and he decided that's not really what he wanted. It's too crowded, it's too
Okay.
commercial. Now, as a kid, he remembers going to a small little lake in upstate New Jersey or somewhere down there. So as I'm 10, I get done with Chewonki my first year. I come back, like I'm home one day, pack up the car, and we drive to New Hampshire. And New Hampshire, it's the same lake that if you watch my videos, that's the
Yeah.
lake that I'm at all the time. So we're here at this, small little lake. We got a bunch of cottages. We're staying there. My dad takes me fishing, and I start catching fish. And I start liking it. I have a lot of fun. We leave, we come back, and we have neighbors that are like really close to us. A bunch of boys and girls, and the parents are close to my parents. So my parents tell them, we found this great spot for a vacation. You should come with us next year. So they come along the next year. So now it's 2 families in the cabins. We all go out fishing. And now I'm showing the other kids, oh, this is how you catch the fish. And we start catching. The next year, they go and they tell their uncles, we
Okay.
found a great lake to go fishing. So now the uncles come and the cousins come. And now as we're getting older and older, we're out on this lake. And I'm a very competitive guy. We're all very, guys are super competitive. And we start to go into this. We're going to make a contest out of it and do like a tournament.
Yeah.
And so at first, it's like whoever catches the most fish wins. But as we have more people and we get better at fishing and more aggressive and more competitive, it becomes like a thing. So
Okay.
now we have teams. We have Just like the Tour de France, we have a jersey that if you're in the lead, you have to wear the shirt to signify the yellow jersey that you're leading it. Then they build a like almost like a Stanley Cup. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like I got it over here. I'll show it to you. It's a trophy so that every year whoever wins gets their name on the trophy that one of the girls
Oh
built. So you have
yeah.
different years and the different names and people that built. And they go and they build like a leaderboard. So every morning you can move your piece over to get to the top. And this takes over my entire fishing life,
Oh yeah.
all about the competition. It's about bragging rights. It's about defeating the guys that are, the older uncles that are like been fishing their whole life.
Yeah.
They're my competition. It's about what lure is working this week. Every year, there's like one color. What's the color that's going to work this week? And it became like everything that, for fishing for me was competition.
Oh yeah.
And that's sort of the genesis of my videos in terms of my week-long challenges.
Yeah.
It was the first week, but also it's just like how I become obsessed with fishing, how I approach fishing,
Yeah.
the competition. I got to get better. And to be on this trip, and it was like my whole, like everyone else was like, oh, we're going to read a book. We're going to, go in the water. No, we got to fish. We got to fish, as much as possible. And it became obsession where if like, as you're like a teenager, a young adult, like sometimes you don't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning. But I remember just lying there in bed, it's 4:45 and I'm like, oh, I'm going to sleep in, but I can't sleep in because if I sleep in and Uncle Kevin goes out and catches 4 or 5 fish, he's going to pass me and I got to beat him. I got to beat him. Just like that cultivated this like complete obsession of competition with me.
How were the others? How did they feel? Were they as competitive as you? Or?
Yeah, it got crazy. Like the whole trip became about this fishing tournament. So like we would start bringing more and more gear and more gear. And we had this little dock. You can see in my videos. It was just like the gear storage. It was like poles and rods and fishing gear so that like my mother and the other women couldn't really even get on it because like it's just about the fishing. And we had to like try to teach ourselves to like take a step back. There's other people on this trip, so we can't like monopolize it with the fishing. But yeah, they're obsessed with fishing too, even to the point where this is years later. But if I see them, like they're going to talk about the fishing trip. They're going to ask about the fishing. They're going to tell stories about the fishing.
Yeah.
It just became their obsessions too. And it was like all year long, you're waiting to become or to waiting to get back up to New Hampshire. You're planning what you're going to be doing. You're stocking up on the supplies. And then when you get done with the trip, I remember that my one friend had a bait. It was a jerk bait that was catching fish. And he was like, and he had some name for it. And then the last day he lost it. So we come home. It was some kind of Rapala jerk bait, some orange color. We come home and then we were like, oh, let's go to the Sports Authority, which was the store at the time. And me, him, and his brother, we drive there. And now we're racing down the aisle to see who can get there first to get them. And there was one left, and the older brother grabbed it, and I got it now. I'll sell it back to you for $35. He's all upset about it. So yeah, it was like everyone became super, super obsessed with the fishing, which is kind of like why I am the way I am now.
Yeah. How many times did you get your name on the trophy?
Most of the time. There's a couple times where like we had to switch it up a little bit. We had like teams, and then we switched it up by like age of the teams because then it was like it's like kickball. Like I want him on my team. The teams would get stacked. So I mean I don't know it was the first one, but I'm not on all of them. But there was a guy, Uncle Kevin, who was like again he's like in his 30s and 40s. And then he's been fishing his whole life. He had all the gear. He was the first one to ever show me how to use a bait caster, and he was like the barometer of which I knew I had to defeat. He was, to me, he was the greatest bass angler that I'd ever seen. And, as we got older, like, our lives kind of separated and they couldn't always go back there. And he didn't go to New Hampshire for quite a while. But then a couple years ago, by circumstance, he was like, hey, I'd like to join you on your trip to New Hampshire. And I was like, yes, I've been training all this time to defeat Uncle Kevin. I'm ready to show him. And he hadn't been fishing for a while because of his life circumstance.
Yeah.
And he came up there, and I will say I destroyed him. And it was like the most satisfying thing. Like I'm showing him a Ned rig. This is a Ned rig.
Yeah.
This is what you do. This is or the whopper ploppers, and I was giving him gear because now I have the truck full of the stuff, and I brought him all the stuff.
He
And I
must have
got
been proud of you, though.
yeah, he was like, "This is awesome," and he follows the channel.
Yeah,
He watches it now, so yeah, it was really cool to see him there and be able to feed him. Of course, there's other people who are on the trip that haven't been back that still say, "Oh, I could take you, I could take you," and I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I would love for you guys to come back to New Hampshire. I just want another chance to defeat them all and have like the epic champion. That's my
yeah,
goal.
yeah. Well, now you're ready for them. You've been training all these years.
That's it for that purpose, just to
Yeah,
have one final, trophy
yeah.
and have my name on it. So yeah,
Hi, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing.
no problem.
Your channel, Dpuck Fishing and Outdoors, is growing strong. What inspired you to start filming your outdoor escapades?
I've been doing this for a while. This is like my seventh season.
Yeah,
Uh, I guess the real reason why I started doing it was, in my life I was working a lot and I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of fishing, and then I found a new career that gave me a lot of free time and freedom and disposable income that so I can get back into the fishing world. And this is around 2011, 2012. And starting around then, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
okay.
So Alzheimer's is progressively worse and worse and worse, and it became my father's entire life was to have to be her primary caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
So my father really couldn't get out and experience any fishing. So I started doing the Instagram and I was taking pictures. It was a way for me to show my father what I've been doing because, as we all know, fishermen are liars. So I can tell
Yeah,
you that I caught a 5 pounder, but unless I show it to you, and then you get the Instagram, well, I could hold the fish really close to the camera and manipulate it so it looks like it's a 5 pounder. So finding YouTube and starting watching YouTube videos of other guys way back when, I realized this is a way that I could share my experiences with my father and say, hey, here's what I did today. Here was my fishing trip.
yeah,
So he could kind of watch it because he couldn't leave the house as my mother got progressively worse and worse and worse.
yeah,
And then when my mother finally passed away, he had freedom again, and he could find the freedom to get out there and fish again. Plus, you talked about this with Dan. YouTube is a great way to as like a fishing diary or
yeah,
a camp. So you can sit there and go, oh, I remember that time that I was in New Hampshire and I caught this size fish. Or I remember that time where I was in my hunting blind and I was spraying a lot of deer pee and nothing came by. You can go back and watch it again.
yeah,
And you go, oh, and I do that every once in a while. Well, I'll go back like season 2, season 3, and you watch yourself and things that you're doing. And a lot of
yeah.
times you go look back and go, man, I don't know why I was doing that. Like that
Yeah,
was
we evolve
dumb.
and we see it.
Yeah, you're like, or I would never use that bait again, or like, you might
Yeah,
be like
yeah,
a certain thing, and you're
yeah,
like, this is the juice, man, this is the juice, and then now you're like, that was really bad. That's that's not good. But like that's the great is you can go back and you can watch yourself progressively get better, and
yeah,
you can relive experiences in a way that YouTube does that you can't just look at a picture on Instagram. I mean,
yeah,
you can see that picture, but like if you can go and relive that deer hunt or
yeah,
that climb up the mountain, and you can see all those experiences, it's a lot different.
yeah.
Plus, like, I really like about YouTube and this whole thing. Obviously, I'm obsessed, like very competitive. I'm a very like analytics driven kind of guy.
Okay.
So the YouTube algorithm and the analytics is great, but you can go back and start seeing how it's a way that I can get better and better and better. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm all about like even in my work, like I want to see my analytics. I want to even if it's fractionally better each
yeah,
day what I'm doing, I want to be fractionally better. So I really got involved into like recording things. Like I have a hallway where I've made poster boards, which each year, so every time I catch a fish, I mark it. So today I caught 4 bass. I go there
yeah.
and mark bass. All this different species dating back to 2012.
That's
And I can
good.
progressively see this year I caught more bass, and this year it's getting better and better and better.
Yeah,
This year I caught a lot more pickerel. This year I caught more crab. You can see what you're doing, what your focus is, and where you need to improve.
yeah,
And then like yeah, it's a way to motivate yourself. So every day
yeah,
I walk to the kitchen, there's the wall and all the different scores that I've done, and it helps me, inspires me to go out there and like, okay, I'm
yeah,
gonna catch 10 more. I gotta get this much more. I also like to like keep like journals, so like I'll keep like records of all the fish that I'm catching,
That's
what I'm
good.
catching on in my journal. Because I feel like analytics really helps me push myself to be the better person.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a saying that's like, a rung of a ladder was never meant to rest upon. It's only meant to get you higher up the ladder,
Yeah.
or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Like YouTube helps me do that. You
Yeah.
know, whether it's getting more viewers or catching more fish or getting better at editing or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm about progressively getting better. That's just
Yeah.
how I.
And you
That's
are,
what I
each
like.
season is getting better, and that's my next question is your editing skills are unique. I don't know if like you changed the contrast or the saturation, but there's no other channel like yours. It looks like you're in another world. And
Yes.
like did you follow a course or are you learning as you go?
So in college, I was a creative writing major, and I minored in film.
Okay.
So I do have a little bit of background in filmmaking. In high school, I was doing like animation too. So I was like, so I have some training in it. I mean, I love film. I'm obsessed with film, and I'm obsessed with books as well. My idea growing up is I was gonna write the great American novels, and then write the screenplay of the great American novel, and then be the director of the film of my own screenplay of my own novel. That's what I wanted to do. But just obsessed with like directors like Spielberg and Michael Mann and like these guys like Kubrick and their images. Like I love seeing really cool images and also I grew up in the age like the 80s and 90s. I'm an older guy. This is a time where you had some amazing filmmaking being made.
Yeah.
Plus, I have the back in the day when MTV actually played music videos.
Yeah.
And I remember like coming home from school, you got to put on the MTV and watch some
Yeah.
MTV videos and seeing a lot of like what's the new David Fincher video from Madonna, like watching that stuff. So that's definitely influenced what I do with YouTube. I definitely love to change things up in terms because I don't want to be the same as everybody else. Everyone's got to find their own authentic voice, their creativity. I mean, everyone can't just do unboxing videos. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do I've done a couple, but it's just not who I am.
Yeah.
But the thing about YouTube is that there's no risks to anything that you're gonna do with your editing. What's the worst that can happen if you? So I'm
Yeah.
I'm totally willing to play around with the visual things that I see, like changing the color. I love changing the colors. People might complain, oh, your videos are too dark. You can't see what. Okay, well, we're filming in the outdoors. There's only so much I can control in terms of
Yeah.
like that. And I'm also filming with like very basic equipment. I don't have $1,000
Yeah.
mirror cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in college. We were using like the 8 millimeter where you're doing the splicing and the taping of the film together, or we would make videos with like the old school camcorders and edit it
Yeah.
with like two VCRs, pressing record and play on there, and
Yeah.
making videos as kids doing that. So like a lot of like when I'm making these videos, I'm gonna play around. I'm gonna throw some music on there, make it different. Because I'm not the guy that's gonna tell you the best way to throw a bait.
Mm.
I'm not the guy that's like, oh, here is this is the bait that's gonna kill. I mean, I'll do a little bit of it, but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
I started making those videos early on, and I'm like, hey, you know, here's the baits I'm using. I'm catching a fish, but I realized early on two things. Like, A, I have to stand out and be different. My father wanted me to make videos of like, this is how you tie a Palomar knot. He
Yeah.
wanted me to gear towards kids, and I said, Dad, you don't understand about algorithms. There's already like 8,000 videos of
Yeah.
Palomar knots. No one wants to click on my video of a Palomar knot and then go, oh, I'm going to watch more of Dpuck.
Yeah.
So you could see the evolution of the channel as I started getting better and better with the digital editing. Because going to college, we didn't have YouTube and digital
Yeah.
editing. So it's a learning process, and I'm doing a lot of Google searches. All right, how do I change this? How do I change that? And I'll try things out. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it's a little silly, but why not?
Yeah.
But the key focus that I've found is for me, the videos that I like to watch and the videos that I like to create are telling a story. I
Yeah.
don't want to just watch a video of a guy standing there and go, I caught a 30-pound catfish today, and he shows you the catfish. Anyone could do that, but that's not what I want to do. But also, I'm not going to be that guy like a Guggen, like I'm going to go catch a fish in this radioactive water using this kind of weird pole. That's not me either. I'm not going to do these like
Yeah.
jackass style videos of film. So you have to find the narrative, the story that makes the viewer want to follow it.
Yeah. And you usually it's your challenges.
The challenges are the easiest way to do it. Like here
Yeah.
is my challenge. It's 7 days or however long it is. I have this number of fish to catch. Can I do it? And like I have plenty of video where like I don't really catch anything. I'm not trying to not show that to the audience to make them think I'm a great angler. That's not what I want to do. But I don't want to sit there and just show here's me standing at a lake. But those challenge videos allows me to show everybody, here's Doug raging out. He's
Yeah.
throwing a rod on the thing and cursing and bleeps everywhere. He's struggling. He's getting frustrated. I'm going to show you how me getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Or
You show it.
Yeah, here's me fist pumping and kissing fish and the stress behind it all.
The
I want
emotion.
the emotion, because those week-long challenges, they're not, they're just like those weeks that I was up in New Hampshire. I'm not here to do anything besides fish. I mean, I'll read a book or two, I'll drink a beer or two, but I'm here to fish. I came all this way. This is what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
win or lose,
Yeah.
and it's been a lot of fun. Or like I used to do like challenges, like me and my buddy, like me and him are gonna do like challenges, kind of like inspired like from bass tournaments and things like that. But finding that narrative, here's me attempting to do something, and sometimes, a lot of times, besides the fishing challenges, you don't go out there with a narrative in mind, but you realize that there's a story to tell,
Yeah.
be it something you did, it could be the weather, how the weather is affecting things. The best thing to do is to find that narrative, make a story out of it, and present it to the audience. And then the other struggle that I'm doing is how do I make my videos faster, more exciting? Because let's be honest, if you're not a fisherman, watching someone fish is kind of a weird thing. And it's the other day where the Masters was the golf Masters.
Yeah.
I'm not a golf guy. Are you a golf guy?
No, not really.
A lot of guys my work are. They're all obsessed with golf, and I was like, I don't understand how you can sit there for 4 days watching guys golf. Like you could turn on and watch the highlights, but they sit there for days watching it. So fishing is no different. They asked me, like, how could you watch the Bassmaster Classic? I'm like, honestly, I don't. I mean, I'll turn it on and look at it and see what the scores are, but I'm not going to sit there and watch it. So how do you make a fishing video interesting for someone like your mother, Sue, who's maybe not an angler, but she's now watching my videos? I got to get her involved.
Well, I'm gonna cut you off right there because I wanted to mention it at one point, and you just opened the door. My mom is a big fan of the type of music you put. Even when I was a teenager, in her car, she had a subwoofer, and she would listen to that music. So you won her right there with that music, man. She'll be there watching the videos like this,
Techno, the dance club. And that's the thing. Like I'm taking a risk. Like I don't just only use like techno music, but like I try to find the narrative and then find the music that's going to fit the story. But those techno, again, if you're trying to do fast, action packed, cutting out, like I don't want to just video of me standing here fishing and talking.
Yeah.
So when you have these challenges where I'm catching lots of fish, the music can accentuate the action. You use the beats to like change the transitions, and it gets the reader, gets the viewer involved in the action. Or sometimes you want to slow it down. You want the atmosphere of like some kind of moody stuff. I've used metal. I've used like some kind of like acoustic, folk rock, things like that. I'll use it if it fits the narrative that I want to tell. But there's people that are like, oh man, all this techno music, I can't stand it. And I'm like, hey man, I don't think that my videos are for everybody.
Oh, I like them, and I used to watch them in the morning. I think well, that's it. You haven't posted some in a while. I believe you're on your break. You're going to start your new season, and usually it's Saturday morning when I wake up. I turn on the laptop. I have it on the table, and like my kids are there, and my daughter, like she's doing her thing, and then I start your video, and then once that music comes, she'll come running right up to me, and she just wants to watch it. And even my son, sometimes he's there and he's dancing. I'll film it to you. I'm going to show you proof. Next time your video, I'm going to show you a scene.
That's awesome. Chris Bogley was telling me he puts it on the big screen, either at home or at work, and he's listening, get the techno music going. That's so cool that like at least some people are like into the whole techno thing, and the fact that your mom is into that's even cooler.
Oh yeah, she's a big techno. Armin van Buuren, all that. There, I learned all these names through my mom.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
She could put some
MC
on her
Mario, I
video.
don't know if you heard of him. He was more of a Montreal guy. MC
Okay.
Mario.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I'm just trying to find ways to make videos, fun and for some certain people, maybe not everybody,
Yeah.
but how to make it exciting. Using the shadow and the contrast, or the sometimes the color. I'll play with the color in terms of mooding or things like that. Or sometimes I'm just like, hey, this kind of looks cool to me. I'm gonna change up the color and the tint here and
Yeah.
manipulate it a little bit. And sometimes I'll admit I look back and go, all right, that was a little stupid, but who cares? It's
Most of
YouTube.
them are cool because they're unique, but I remember there was one or maybe a couple of episodes where it was really dark. I think
Yeah,
and I was like forcing my eyes. But I mean, you're experimenting, and most of them I like it. I like how it's unique.
yeah, and again, it's a learning experience. So like
Yeah.
it's hard as a fisherman to like be like, all right, when the sun is behind the camera or in
Yeah.
front, if it's facing the camera, it's gonna make it like really hard to see.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're fishing, especially on a boat, you have absolutely no control
Yeah.
over where because you're trying to. My focus is to catch the fish. If I don't catch the fish, there's nothing really to show for anyone to watch. So I'll deal with the sun glare and things like that.
Yeah.
Editing and editing, you could play around too. You get the multiple cameras and you can change things up. So
Yeah. Well,
I
us
tried to do good things.
with us, like our YouTube channels, we don't take it as seriously. So even if we have the sun pointing right on the GoPro, we're still going to put that scene. But I was listening to another podcast, and with Wes David was a guest on it. Wes David he hosts his fishing show out in Western Canada, in
Mhm.
Alberta, and he was mentioning that sometimes there's just angles where the sun is right on the camera, and even if they caught a big walleye, they won't put that scene because the TV, like the channel won't accept it. That's
Yeah,
how hard it is.
yeah. I mean, there's guys like these professional bass fishermen. They have guys that follow them around, and they'll be in another boat. And with the other boat, sometimes they can get different angles, but they don't want to interrupt the fishing. I'm doing this like on my own budget. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
buying stuff. I'm not even using GoPros. I use like off brands like the DJI Action or the Yi. I'm not using. I know what program you use to edit. I'm doing it with the Vegas Pro.
Okay.
I know I'm always kind of weird. I want to do like if everyone's using one thing, I want to use the other thing. I don't want to
Yeah.
do the same thing as everybody else. So
Yeah.
I would love to have this really expensive equipment, and I'm actually getting a commercial license for drone use for work. So
Okay.
hopefully I'll be able to implement a drone into my films,
That would be
and
nice.
not crash it into an island like some
Yeah. Yeah.
do.
Good luck. Practice.
I'm a little nervous because it's gonna be like the work drone that I could use on my own time. It's gonna be like one of those like
Yeah.
really expensive DJI ones. So
Yeah.
I'm really, it's gonna be a lot of practice. So I'll be hesitant to use that.
Tip number one for the drone: look at your controller screen. Don't look at the drone.
Don't look at the drone.
If you're looking at the drone and you're flying it, that's when you'll crash. You really gotta look at the screen, and the screen is your eyes. The drone is your
I've
eyes.
never flown a drone ever, and this because it's commercial. Like we have to do like hours and hours and hours of certification and
Okay.
like being a pilot. And if it's just me, if I just went out and bought one, I could do it. I
Yeah.
think. But because it's commercial, I have to sit there and take these tests and stuff. So that's even
Okay.
more daunting. So if I got certified, maybe like I'll have like a leg up on it, and I
Oh,
won't be crashing
I'd
it.
love to see those drone shots from New Hampshire.
Yeah, that'd be. I can't wait to get it. That's why. I mean, I don't need to get this commercial license, but they offered it. I was like, all right, I can. I'll
Oh
take
yeah.
it.
Oh
This
yeah.
is a way to get implement it into my videos and try different things. So yeah, I
What?
love making film. And I love editing. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is. To be honest with you, I like it too.
It's cathartic. Like I have to have a creative output, whether it's writing or if it's making YouTube videos or things like that. That's part of like you need an outlet to get that energy out.
Yeah.
So YouTube has been that for me.
Oh yeah, it's been my source also. It's been pushing me to accomplish my goals. I
Your
find,
editing is getting very good. Like you're getting some really cool edits too.
thank you. I actually see from the beginning, my 2017 and 18 series when I began up until now, I see how I improved on my own, and that's just by looking at YouTube tutorial videos. I
Yeah.
watch a lot of YouTube tutorial videos and even like how to talk and stuff like that, where I still want to improve because
Mhm.
I still feel camera shy.
I do
when I'm
too.
alone. I don't know why, but I still got it. That's why I challenged myself with the solo podcast, my last episode,
Yeah,
because I got to get rid of that camera shyness that for some reason I don't know why I got it. But when I'm talking to you, I lose the camera shyness. But
sure.
when let's say you're not there and I got to talk alone to that camera, for some reason
Yeah.
I don't know what happens.
I don't like doing like the intros or outros in public because again, New Jersey is very crowded. So I'm at some of
Yeah,
these places. There's all these people walking by, and I do feel really silly being like, "All right, Dpuck, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe." Like I feel goofy doing it, to the point where I'll try to avoid doing it around
yeah,
people.
me
Or like
too.
I'll start it and I'll stop and wait for people to
Yeah,
reply. I'm like, "All right, editing can fix anything. You just keep
yeah,
editing."
exactly.
It's hard to do it. Like some people are just natural at it.
Yeah,
Some people are just natural about talking about what they do. Like Dan from DC Outdoors, he's a
yeah,
natural at talking about what he does.
yeah,
I'm not. I'm the natural at raging out and having mental breakdowns and temper tantrums because that's just who I am. I'm an intense guy. But that's all I can do. I can't really get too involved in the talking, um, except for when I'm hiking. When I'm doing like outdoor videos, so if I'm hiking. Sometimes I'm hiking with somebody so I can talk to them about it.
yeah.
Or sometimes I just start to like another thing I've noticed making YouTube videos, I don't know about you, but the more you do it, the more you start talking when you're making videos. I find myself talking to myself when I'm not doing YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah.
driving in the car, or if I'm cooking, or like my cats are there. I'm having conversations with myself as if I'm on YouTube, just to, because I'm so used to doing it when I'm filming the YouTube stuff.
Well, that happens to me when I go fishing. Sometimes I just don't want to film. It's like a little quick session, so I go there. I'm alone, peace of mind, and then a fish bites, and I'm like, oh yeah, fish on. Oh, looks like a nice one. I think it's a walleye. Then I'm like, wait a minute, the GoPro's
Yeah,
not on my hat, you know?
Yeah, that's why you always got to bring your gear with you. You got to have your camera because you have to be able to show that you caught the giant walleye.
Yeah,
Because and then if you didn't, I'm always like the same thing. If I didn't go fishing, I would have caught the big fish. If I don't bring my camera, that's when I'm not going to catch like the
oh
PB
yeah,
of the time. Because there are times where it's so much stress to actually do the YouTube, and I don't feel like doing it. But I still have to bring the camera because I'm like I can't risk the chance because
yeah.
I might not catch a fish, but something weird might happen. Where there was one time where I was fishing and a bear attacked me.
Well, yeah, that's it.
The bear just charged me. Or another time I was going fishing and I found that car that got robbed. I
Yeah,
got involved. So like, there's things that you can if you have your camera. The worst thing that can happen is you don't get anything on the
and you
camera.
just delete the footage.
You delete the footage if you want. Or you keep
Yeah,
piles and piles of SD cards just like that. So
yeah,
it doesn't hurt to always have the camera. And once you start getting into that discipline, it's hard to stop. It's hard to film, not film things. I go camping with my family every year, and I don't bring I usually don't bring the camera. But now that the kids, my cousins have kids now, and they're getting older, and they're aware of the YouTube and all that, they kind of like, did you bring the camera? Did you bring the camera? So then I have
yeah,
to like film the fishing, the camping trip with these kids that are like 3 and 4, that are it's just nonsense of kids just babbling to the camera, and
yeah,
they want me to make the video for them. Did you edit the
yeah.
video? Yeah. All right, I'll make the video. So it becomes like the YouTube becomes your life.
Yeah, it does. Even people ask me, "Can you film my wedding?" You know, so like I
Oh
put
yeah,
yeah, yeah, but like little. I told them I'm not a professional, but like I'll put a tripod
yeah.
I did it. I
So
edited one wedding video so far.
okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, what
but
kind
with the
of cameras
drone
you
and
use?
everything, I could do some nice. I could probably do that as a sideline. It's just I'm already lacking time.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, it takes so much time. My cousin's doing triathlons now, and she has me, coming there with the camera, and I'm trying to record her. So yeah, people start knowing you as the YouTube guy, and they start
yeah,
expecting you to do the edits and
yeah,
and do all this stuff. And sometimes you just don't want to do it. I just want to go sit around the campfire. I don't really feel like
yeah, exactly.
knowing anything.
So I wanted to say you achieved the Eagle Scout rank, and that's a significant accomplishment, as only about 4% of scouts earn it. How has your background as an Eagle Scout shaped the way you approach challenges in the outdoors?
I wasn't just an Eagle Scout. I was actually a Scout Master afterwards.
Okay.
So from 10 and a half to 18, you do the Boy Scouts. And when you're 18, you basically graduate out. I got my Eagle Scout at 18. Um, and then I stayed on as a Scoutmaster leading the kids in the troop. But I did that for another 15 years.
Okay.
Um, I mean, being an Eagle Scout shapes how I approach everything in life. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was 4%. It's actually better than I thought, but a lot of people don't really know what Eagle Scouts are or the Boy Scouts are. I mean, do they have that in Quebec?
Yep, they do.
Are you from? Have you met any Eagle Scouts?
No, I haven't.
No.
I
Okay.
always wanted to be in the Scouts when I was younger, but my parents never subscribed me to them, I guess. So
Sure,
I don't
sure.
know much knowledge about them. I just know what they are. And I actually talked to my wife that if I could get my kids into Scouts, I really want them to, because I find there's a lot of they could learn from tying knots to surviving in the wild, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, in my town, I was 10 years old. There's multiple troops. A lot of people think of like Eagle Scouts as like the little nerd boys that are doing their merit badges and tying knots and they're marching their parades and helping old ladies across the street. And that's all part of it. But my troop, I was lucky enough to find a troop that was very outdoor oriented. They didn't really care too much about the uniforms and marching the parades, but every month, without fail, we were going to go camping.
Yeah.
We had a cabin at the local, park here, the wooded park that we go to when we wanted to, and we started doing a lot of backpacking. We're all about backpacking and low impact camping, and survival, and it became a thing for me, and it builds on that leadership.
Yeah.
So then, as I got older, we started doing more and more like wild adventures, and with my background in the main facility of Chewonki, I'll be able to bring that also into the Boy Scouts,
Yeah.
where we were like going on these trips, doing long adventure trips for like a week or two, going out to places like New Mexico in a place called Philmont, where you
Okay.
would backpack for 10 days, doing 100 plus miles, going up on 13,000 feet, climbing up it's a whole giant park. I don't know how big it is, just massive place. And you hike the whole time. You're carrying all your gear in your back. You're going up to Mount Baldy where there's snow on the top of the mountain in the middle of July. For kids from New Hampshire or from New Jersey, New Mexico is like a completely
Oh
different.
yeah.
And then we did a trip in Maine where we went the Appalachian Trail. So for 1 week, we're hiking up the last bit of the Appalachian Trail to Baxter State Park, to the Mount Katahdin, which is the top of the very end of that trail. And it's the highest point in Maine. Doing trips like that, really influencing, my love for the outdoors and being able to bring that to younger kids, and then mold them into Eagle Scouts. I mean, what an Eagle Scout is basically like the epitome of Boy Scouts. It's ranks. It's kind of military like, and you advance in your ranks based on your skills. It starts off being not tying and how to flay a fish and how to set up a tent. But as you get older, it becomes more intensive in terms of leadership qualities and doing projects and leading others. And you get elected into leadership positions within the troop.
Okay.
A real Boy Scout troop is, peer. It's not run by the adults. As a Scoutmaster, you're just there to make sure that no one kills each other. It
Okay.
doesn't go over the flies. It's the boys that are crafting the program, teaching the other boys that are younger, molding them. So as a Scoutmaster, you get to see them advance, as grown men. And one of the best things about being an Eagle Scout or being a Scoutmaster after all these years is I get to see these guys that are now grown men with kids of their own, and there's a camaraderie of being an Eagle Scout, where like I know what I had to do to get to Eagle Scout, and I could see that these other Eagle Scouts do, whether they were in my troop or not. It's some kind of like recognition of the achievement of what they can do.
Okay.
And you have to go in front of a board of people and they quiz you on like your personality and your character. So if you're an Eagle Scout, it basically becomes all part of what you are as a person, how you interact with everything outside of Scouts. It could be in the workplace, it could be in the school, in your family life, just how you act, principles and respect for others. And the point, like, if you watch my videos, like I'm obsessed with like I hate people that are leaving trash on the ground.
No, yeah.
These anglers that are leaving their wrappers. I talk a lot about bucket fishermen,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't just mean when I say bucket fishermen, I don't mean just like guys that have the bucket and they're keeping all the fish. To me, it's like an all-encompassing people that don't respect the world. They're going to fish without permits. They're going to leave their garbage here. They're going to go on people's land that they don't own, the trespass to do that. To me, that's what a bucket fisherman represents.
Okay.
Like having the respect of your environment, having respect to your other people. I will treat others how I wish them to treat me.
Yeah.
I'll treat them with respect, but I also don't take any crap from anybody.
Yeah.
When I see disrespect, it really bothers me. And then the other thing is like one thing I taught was like being mentally awake. We talked about that all the time. Mentally awake. That means just being aware of your surroundings. Like mentally awake could be like if you're at a mall and you're going up the escalator and the guy gets at the top of the escalator and they're sitting at the top and they're playing on their phone, blocking the traffic.
Yeah.
Or they're leaving their cart at the shop, at the supermarket in the parking lot, not aware of their surroundings. Being an Eagle Scout, being mentally awake, and especially being because when you're in the woods, whether you're fishing or you're hiking or hunting, you're forced, if you're going to be successful, you're forced to be mentally awake.
Yeah.
You're forced to start looking around your environment. You can't be looking at a phone. You're looking up. When you're looking up, you're looking around. You're aware of their surroundings and what's nearby you and what's going on in the environment, the weather, what the animals doing, what the fish are doing, all the different factors in order to be able to have a successful time in the wilderness, fishing, hiking, camping, hunting. You have to be. So I feel like those are the things like the respect and the determination, and being goal oriented and achieving a rank, achieving something like being an Eagle Scout, or something in your work. If you wanted to achieve, I want to be vice president of a company. It's just how you mold your life. So if you got your kids involved in scouting, and to be honest, like it's a lot harder to keep someone involved in scouting now in 2025. There's too many distractions. The kids got video games. They got all the different sports to do. Kids these days, they have so many activities that they don't have time to focus to do the things that would take to achieve Eagle Scout. But again, only 4% of the kids get to be Eagle Scout. That means that there's still 96% are involved in it.
Yeah.
So even if your kid, my father he was a Boy Scout, but he wasn't an Eagle Scout. Even if your kid ends up being like another rank and just does it till he's 14, till he's 12, he's gonna get the experience of being in the outdoors. It's all about new experiences.
Yeah.
Because once the mind is stretched by a new experience, it never goes back to the same dimensions. So whether it's scouting, whether it's hunting, whether it's some other programs, whether it's playing hockey, have those experiences. It'd be awesome if you got your son. And I think nowadays, girls are involved in Boy Scouts too. So it's just scouts now.
Yeah.
So it's a great program for me. It shaped me. It allowed me to have the success in life. And
Gives confidence.
The confidence, the self-reliance.
Yeah.
Not having to rely on anybody else. A Boy Scout troop. Again, the parents might go on the trip. The kids are cooking the dinner. The kids are cleaning the dishes. The parents don't even have to cook. Here's my plate. Go put food on it. Go wash it. The goal is so that when your kid's going home, you'll be home on a Thursday. You have dinner. He's going to go do the dishes without you really having to ask. That's the goal. Yeah. So I really hope that you find the success, whether it's in the Scouts or another program for your kids. It's just another way that you and them can spend time in the outdoors. Yeah. In the woods, around a campfire or on a lake, things like that. It's a great program, and I'm proud of being an Eagle Scout. It's something really I hide. My troop, the kids that were my troop, were all like playing hockey and wrestling. We're like the tough kids. We weren't ashamed of being Eagle Scouts. So it was for me a fantastic program.
What's been the most dangerous or unexpected moment you've experienced while exploring, and how did you handle it?
Well, there's a lot. We've already talked about the bear attack, and you can go on my YouTube video and you can watch it. It's not that exciting. But when I was a Scoutmaster, I had talked about how I led these trips to New Mexico and to Maine, and in our troop, the older kids could go to Philmont, New Mexico. The younger kids would have to go on a side trip. So my father would lead the side trip where they would do a tour of like Utah. So I'd already done 2 trips to Philmont. I'd done a trip to Maine. I'm getting older. I wasn't really up for doing a 3rd trip to Philmont. So I decided I was going to lead the younger kid trip with 2 dads, while I would let the next generation of Scouts go on the Philmont trip. So we did like a tour of like places like Bryce Canyon and Zion, the Angels Landing and the Narrows. And it was a great experience. And those places, if you've never been to Zion and Bryce, Utah is a fantastic state. And then we did it with the Grand Canyon. We went down to the Grand Canyon and the Southern Rim. And Grand Canyon is a tourist trap. It's just like thousands and thousands of people.
Oh yeah.
But one of the dads on the trip got to he knew of a place called the Havasu Nation Reservoir. reservation. And
Okay.
it was like a side little canyon, like a tributary canyon that fed into the main Colorado. So you have to drive out there and you park your cars and you have to hike down, I don't know, 10 miles down into the Native American reservation where their economy is based on the tourism of people visiting. And it is a river where the water has turned like a turquoise blue from the limestone that it's running through. So you hike down there, and then there's a series of waterfalls that you can sit there and you can swim in the water, and it's gorgeous out. And then you
Okay.
camp in this canyon where it's like sheer cliffs on either side of you, 300-400 feet up in a canyon that's probably 100-200 meters wide. And then you
Okay.
just camp there, and there's maybe 200 people there. So we hike in there, and it's a beautiful area. We're spending the day, we're swimming in the water. And then some of the natives come by and they say, got to be aware the water suddenly turned from blue, went to brown.
Oh.
I don't know. It's just brown water. It's nothing. It's not fast. It's just brown. And then natives say, "Hey, we need everyone to move their campsites up the hill because it's raining somewhere 100 miles away, and the water, and then there's going to be a chance of high water." So all the 100 people, some people like left, but we all had to
Okay.
like move up our campsite higher up in this flat canyon. So we set up our tents, we eat our dinner, we go to sleep on this little mound. And then it's the middle of the night. I'm lying there and I hear it sounds like traffic, like we had camped on the highway. And
Okay.
then I see like flashlights moving around. I hear yelling and hollering. So we climb out of our tents and we look up, and that hilly area that we were on is now a island, and
Oh
there are
yeah.
currents of water completely surrounding this island, like just torrents, huge waves coming by. We're stuck on this island.
Wow.
And see people with flashlights, and everyone that was above us in the canyon got cut off and they all climbed out. But now there's me, the two dads that we're with, and a group of college kids and a family from Switzerland, and we're stuck on this mound. Can't go anywhere. And the water, and it's pitch black out. So, we make a little fire. We're sitting around, we're waiting. The water's going to go down. But then, like, the sun comes up, and like now we can see the total devastation. This was a picturesque, like resort almost area, is nothing but carnage as trees are going by and rocks the size of cars are rolling by, and
Okay.
the island is now having a log jam of trees that are down in front of it, to the point where I could walk out there on the logs to kind of see around, and you can see like again natives and other government officials are like up. They're looking down at us, and they're trying to communicate, and a helicopter's coming by us, and we're still stuck on this little island. And I remember at a native reservation, they have a lot of dogs, wild dogs running around. They just have the dogs. There was a dog out there in the water, and I had to
Oh.
go out there. This college girl was crying, "There's a dog! There's a dog!" So I had to go out there, corral this like mutt dog, pick it up and carry it over on the logs back to the girl, and I put a rope and I gave it to the girl and was like, "Your job is to keep an eye on the dog to give her, calm her down."
Yeah.
So now I'm in charge of all these kids, these families, again, there's no now the water's coming, the trees are coming, and then at some point the helicopter like drops like ropes and stuff to us. We have the ropes, but what are we gonna do? It's so raging. And then the natives are climbing down the cliffs. They're rappelling down to get to us, but they can't get to us. And then I remember that we get a rope to them. We get the rope across to the cliff from like the log jam. There was a tree still out there, so we make like a rope. And
Okay.
as we're tying the rope on the radio, they start going. They start hearing screaming, and they're like, "Run, run, run! Get in the tree!" So we're all running. I have all these kids, and there's a couple of trees on this island, and I'm literally stuffing these kids as high as they can
Yeah.
up this tree, as far as they can go. And there's only like a couple of trees there, and I got the family in the trees. I got the college kids in the tree, and there's like one little sapling is like all left for me. I was like, I'm gonna die. And they were saying that because there's an earthen dam upriver somewhere, and it was given out,
Oh.
and they were expecting the tidal wave to come and wash us
Yeah.
all. But it gave out a little bit, or something happened where like another blockage stopped the water temporarily. So the natives are again screaming like, "Come on, come on, come on!" So we have to like leave our stuff, grab the kids, have the kids like bear hug us around the neck,
Yeah.
going through the water, and it's like over my shoulder, you'd be over my shoulders, and we're getting across, and we're heading the kids to the kids, and they have to climb up the side of the canyon. We get up, we start getting all up the canyon, and then the wave comes and just washes everything down there. So if we'd stayed,
Wow.
we'd been washed down all the way down into the Grand Canyon, or for all I know.
You'd be
Now we're up
gone.
on this cliff, and I see the college girl. I'm like, "Where's the dog?" And she had panicked. She was just like, she had to get out of there. So the dog, I think the dog got washed away.
Uh,
Now we're on the far side of the canyon. We have to get to the other side of the canyon. So that helicopter has a rope hanging from it with a net and a pallet, and it comes down and it puts the pallet on the ground. And I take two kids and we get into the net, and it lifts us over the canyon and it puts us down the other side, and we have to get it off. And it does that for everybody. And then we had to hike like a mile to the where the natives are living, where the National Guard had come, and now here's all the campers that had been there hanging out in the residential area,
yeah.
and these Black Hawk helicopters are coming down and they're ferrying us the 8 miles to the parking lot. Our problem is all our stuff is gone.
Yeah.
It's all been washed away. You know, I'm soaked. I got a day pack. I think that's all I had. We do have the keys to the cars, so we get helicoptered out. They put us in the car, and then this becomes like it was like August, I think, so it was a little bit of a slow news time. So like it gets wind, like people hear about this flood, and Las Vegas, the Stratosphere Hotel in Las Vegas reaches out to us and says, "Hey, we know you lost everything. We still had like 4 more days for our flight. They're like, we're gonna put you up in the Stratosphere hotel free of charge." So we got there.
Oh,
We got to
that's
stay
nice.
an hour that moves and everything. Stay
Yeah.
there, and then we flew back home. We landed in Newark Airport in New Jersey, and there's like camera crews there because someone had made a phone call, because we're here in New York City. Someone made a phone call. You know, we got the reporters with the cameras in their faces, and they want to interview us. So then we get to have like a press conference in our town where I'm doing a speech about what happened and all that, and they're asking me questions. And then this will be my first appearance ever, as far as I know, on YouTube. To see all these channels want to have us on. They're like, want to get the kids
Yeah.
that's from flood, so they're all reaching out to us at Fox News and this channel. So we end up CBS Morning Show. We agree to go on the CBS Morning Show. So they bring us on in the morning, and we're in the studio with Serena Williams and Venus Williams.
Oh yeah.
We're standing outside in the street, and they interviewed the father because he had known somebody. And you can go on YouTube and you can Google or YouTube Boy Scouts and Flood CBS Morning Show,
Okay.
something like that, and you can see some footage and see me standing there in my Boy Scout uniform as a young man, getting to be on the CBS Morning Show.
Nice.
And it was like, it was such a fun experience. It's weird to say it because we were like in danger, but
Yeah.
it was fun to be like, I realized the whole time the adrenaline's going.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
this is what I've been meant to do. I was thinking maybe it change my life and be like a fireman fighting wildfires or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a plaque in my living room with all the different clippings of interviews and newspaper clippings, and all those kids now, because this was 2005, I think. So the kids are all older now. No, that's 2008. Somewhere around 2008, I guess. They're all older. Some are married with kids.
Yep.
And so if I were to see them, or whenever I see the fathers, we have that bond where we survived.
Oh yeah. For sure. That's quite the bond.
Yes, it was a great experience, and I'm so glad I didn't do the other trips with the older kids. I got to be like, yeah, you guys hiked the mountain, but I was in a flood and got
Yeah.
pulled up by helicopters and all that.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that shaped my life, because if you can experience that and survive it, you can do anything, right?
Yeah. Well, that story definitely beats when I flipped in those rapids, but when I made the front page of the newspaper, afterwards at that age, you're proud, you're showing all your friends, look at that, I'm in the front page of the newspaper.
Yeah. It's just part of, you're a famous person, you're a hero, you're
Yeah.
great. So anyone wants to
A hero for the wrong reasons in my case, but you're a hero for the right reasons.
You can go and watch
definitely saved some
on
lives.
YouTube. And one of these days, I will make a full length. I thought about it, doing a full length detail with the pictures about the whole trip and the whole experience, the good, and there's some negative stuff to the experience too. And one of these days, I'll put that together on my YouTube.
But you should show that, you should share that video of yours from the CSN News onto your community tab, a post on YouTube.
Oh, I'll do that. I'll share that on my channel.
Yeah, so other people can see it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's my my favorite outdoor experience.
That's quite the story. So, Doug, as we wrap up, what's next for Dpuck Fishing and Outdoors? Can you give us a sneak peek into any upcoming adventures or plans?
Well, I am going to be doing in this season. We're going to do 3 week-long challenges. Every year I did one.
Okay.
This year I'm going back to New Hampshire. I'm also adding a trip to I did Black Lake I think last year too. So I'm doing
Okay.
Black Lake a second time, and then I'm also going back up to the Adirondacks. So I'm doing 3 lakes, 3 week-long challenges. They're not the same amount of challenges because each challenge, like the number has to be fitting to the lake. So in Black Lake, I got to catch 6 because I caught 50 last year. I got to get 60, and then New
Yeah.
Hampshire, I'm going for 100. I don't remember what the Adirondacks trip is.
But you're gonna have to stop one day. I mean, you can't put up that number up to 200.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to reach a limit where like I just can't do it. But I've been successful at every time. It always boils down to the last day anyway. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you like it, so adds that tension. One of these days, I will fail one of my course challenges, and it'll be fun. It'll be real. It's the honesty of the channel. Like I didn't make it, and here's why.
How can our listeners support your channel or connect with you?
Just I am on Instagram, so you can go to Dpuck. I think it's Dpuck311 on Instagram, but I don't
Okay.
use it that much. Really, just my channel. It's Dpuck Fishing and Outdoors. It's just about my experiences of fishing and hiking and camping and things like that, and the fun things I like to do. So come on, check out the channel.
Yeah. You don't have a Facebook page?
I do. I don't really use it. It's more like for friends. It's not really
Okay.
for.
Okay.
I mean, it's just I don't really
Yeah,
use it.
no, not like me. Like me, I have my personal Facebook, but I made to promote
Yeah.
my YouTube channel. I did my Wildgame Anglers
Yes.
Facebook page also,
To be
where
honest,
I
I would love to get rid of Facebook. I only really use it for hockey. Like I
yeah.
watch a lot. Like I'm involved in some Ranger groups. If it
Okay.
wouldn't be for the hockey and the interactions that I have in that community,
Okay.
I probably would get rid of Facebook.
Well, Doug, that wraps up pretty much the questions I had for you today. So thank you very much for joining.
Thanks. It's been a blast. I'd love to do it again and talk more about it. I guess next year, next winter.
Yeah, it's been a real blast, and for sure we can maybe even do this again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Doug. It's been a real pleasure diving into your world of outdoor adventures, bass fishing, and everything in between. Your passion and stories are truly inspiring. For everyone tuning in, don't forget to check out Doug's YouTube channel, Dpuck Fishing and Outdoors, to catch more of his exciting escapades. If you enjoyed this episode of the Wildgame Anglers podcast, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Eagle Scout out.
Yeah.
Bam!